Hello and welcome to the Final Phoenix podcast. Today I have with me Savannah Peck. Savannah and I met under really unique circumstances. So we're going to tell you a little bit about that story here in a moment. But this podcast episode essentially is us sharing some of the lessons that we learned by hiring coaches or software or essentially people that we learn from and that we look up to. We both had our own unique experiences or experience with a specific company. So we are going to be just sharing some of what we learned from that experience and hopefully help you out in the long run to be able to see if you're entering a situation like this, if you're in a situation like this, what to do. So, yeah, Savannah, why don't you just briefly introduce yourself and we'll just move forward?
Awesome. I am happy to be here with you, Laura. Thank you. And I'm Savannah. I am currently living in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. I'm from Ottawa, Canada, and I started my own business about 10 years ago as a personal trainer. So I started a private boutique studio business. And within a short time, I realized it wasn't the kind of business I wanted. And so after investing like 30,000 of my own savings into it, I decided to sell everything and I traveled for 3 years to 17 countries and ended up in Mexico during COVID. Convinced my mom to move here. So I'm really lucky to have a family member here. And I started hosting events, public speaking events, and networking events. And I love connecting people. I love bringing people together and especially working on our speaking skills, working on just articulating our message. And right now, I am excited to be talking about this because it's really affected me where, we invested in a program in and a community and coaching, and it really was not what we expected. And so I'm excited to share all of these learning lessons because we're going to help hopefully prevent a lot of people from this happening to a lot of people. And if people are already in a program or they're already in a community and something just doesn't feel right, well, we're hopefully going to help them also know what to do, what steps to take. So
Yeah.
yeah, I hope that's enough of a little intro.
Absolutely. Thank you, Savannah. And so we want to talk about, so specifically, Savannah and I both invested in a coach, a mentor, a product, a program, and we're talking about thousands and thousands of dollars here. So, it's one thing if you put a little bit of your paycheck into something, but when you're investing your trust in a person and they've sold you on certain things and you're really not getting any of the benefits or the results that you're hoping for, like that's a two-way street of responsibility, right? So Savannah, I know that when we invested in this specific uh person essentially to help guide us, we were both in very different mindsets. So I'll share mine, but will you just take a couple moments and tell me where you were mentally?
Yeah. So because I started traveling, I had tried network marketing, I tried affiliate marketing, freelancing. I was doing coaching. I had a coaching certification. So I also invested 10K into a NLP certification. But the interesting thing with a lot of these programs is they don't teach you how to market yourself and how to sell yourself. So what I've really come to realize when you want to be an entrepreneur or you want to work for yourself is you actually are starting two businesses. This is my own opinion, but one business is the service and the thing that you're actually delivering. So whether you're a coach or you're a trainer, whatever it is, you're delivering that value, right? You're teaching them that thing. But then for you to actually get clients, your business, you have to have a marketing business. You actually have to put a lot of time and energy into actually marketing and selling, which can be its own business on its own, right? So it's literally like you're starting two businesses in one. And that's why I think most businesses fail is because they go take a coaching certification or they go take they go to university for 4 years, but then they don't know actually how to sell themselves in an interview, let's say,
Mhm.
or they don't know how to market themselves to get clients and they fail. And so the mindset that I was at was I tried so many things over the years and I just wasn't it seemed like I wasn't connecting the dots. And because of all the information, I was buying a little program here or a program over here, and it wasn't one complete system. So the mindset that I was at was I need a full system. I need someone to guide me from A to Z. And that's what really attracted me to this program was the software itself creates creates your product, your program, your content, your emails. So I was like, wow, this thing supposedly does it all. It has your system. So I was really looking for that complete system and the coaching to kind of guide me through it. Because there's one thing of buying a product or a course than to actually implement it, right? And so I invested, it was 7,000 US, which is about almost 10,000 Canadian, into getting the whole system. So my mindset was really needing that one-to-one support or that implementation help. So that's kind of where my mind was at, was like, I'm finally done with buying all these small little programs and trying to piece it all together myself. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to, bite the bullet, take out a little chunk of savings or my credit card and pay for what I think I really needed. And it turns out, right, that we'll get into it later, but it turns out that it didn't deliver pretty much anything that I paid for. So that's where I was at.
Yeah, which is really interesting because I came from a much different space, which was I had known about this person for a while and I had known about how there was a system to it and I was very attracted to that. And I actually was applying some of what they learned or what I learned from them over the years, not in like a whole system sense, but in like I like this part of it and I like this part of it. And essentially, I jumped in and kind of bit the bullet with the big investment because I had bought like a 5 day thing, and then I went into like a longer term thing, and I liked them both. So I liked the community, I liked the energy, I liked the gatherings, I liked the lessons, so that when I invested into the bigger higher level or the upsell essentially, I thought that I would be getting even more, but I was at like it to me it seemed like those values were opposite. Like I got more in the shorter period of time instead of the big chunk of investment that we made. So I was curious, I was excited, and I also was looking forward to like the individual type of coaching that we were offered. Um, and just making sure, because when we hire a coach, we need someone to push us forward and see where our blind spots are and to say, hey, how about you go like at least working with us, right? So I was excited for that. And we both agree that it wasn't what we thought we invested in, right? We both were like, what did we even buy here? So as a business owner and as a coach myself, and I know Savannah, you also experienced like, wow, we learned so much who we don't want to be and what we don't want to become, right? And what we are happy to say we are not just through that experience. But yeah, I was hoping for something and I was pretty let down when the idea of what I was sold didn't come into fruition at all. But strangely, and we're going to talk about this as we continue on this conversation, but strangely, it wasn't just the coaching service that was faulty. It was also the software. It was like everything, the management, the communication, everything just kind of fell apart. So we're going to move through some red flags and green flags of that experience so that you can know moving forward, like if you're feeling good about something, if you're feeling kind of bad about something, what should you do? So yeah, Savannah, did you want to say anything else about your experience or where you were at?
Yeah, maybe just add in about the software because the software was marketed as fast, done for you. It'll create all your content, your sales script, your lead magnets, and from the outside, it looks incredible, right? And you're excited. And oftentimes it's like almost getting into a bad relationship. At the beginning, you're in the honeymoon phase and you don't really see all the red flags, right? And you're just excited about the new thing. And that's truly how it felt for like the first 3 months. is that I was starting to see these red flags, but you're still in this honeymoon phase of feeling like you found this amazing thing. But then as you continue in that relationship with it, you're starting to realize like, this is really slowing me down, or this is causing more confusion, or, I'm not getting any support here. And so that was a huge letdown. Um, and I wanted to add, I was thinking there was something wrong with me. And I think that's a huge reason why we're doing this. We're having this conversation and putting it out there to the world is because I truly felt like there was something that maybe I'm the failure. Maybe I'm the one that can't quite do this online business. Maybe I just really suck at tech. Maybe I'm not coachable. And so when you're in a bad relationship, you almost start to feel like you're the problem, right? And I think it's so important to talk about this because can give up on their dreams. People can give up on their goals because of the lie that they've been told or they've been marketed. And so that's kind of how I feel about this is that we were marketed a lie and a scam. And I know that's a huge like word to use, but in the marketing world, when you're when you're sold something and you're not given it, what else is it? Like when the person knows what they're doing, to me it's a scam. And that's in my opinion, right? But yeah, I just wanted to add that a big part of why I'm happy we're doing this is to hopefully help people realize that it's not them. It might be the product they're using or the program they bought or the mentor they have or the teacher they have. Just like when we were young, the teachers might have told us we were stupid and we kept that lie. We've grown up with that, and it's so sad because we might not go down a certain path because we believe that lie. And so hopefully this conversation is going to help people realize that they really might be in a bad relationship and they just need to be in the right one with us, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. And I love that you said that there really is two things you're doing. You're learning a service that you can offer to humanity and others that resonate with you, and then you're learning how to offer that in a marketing sense, right? Like we do have to learn different skills or find the people to help us get the skill of putting ourselves or our message out into the world, which to me, that's really what marketing is, moving from an authentic space that's aligned, that's attracting the people to us that need our help. And we could do that very artfully, or we could do it in a way that is dishonest. And I feel like that's what this person had done is they had gotten so good at marketing that they were using all of the words that they knew would attract us into the situation, but none of the promises were fulfilled. So they never really fine tuned or changed their service in order to align with something that is, full of integrity. But they were selling it all right, and that's where the like we don't. I know that to some extent, Savannah, you and I both help people with business and marketing, right? And we learned that honesty and alignment and authenticity is like the best way that you could get yourself out there. And this person just did not do that, right? Um, so yeah. So moving on, I want to talk. Savannah and I are now going to talk a little bit about the definition of a coach and because we both noticed that this specific company didn't really know, and we want to make sure that you do, right? So I was told by one of my coaches years ago that a therapist helps somebody heal the past, and a coach helps people move forward in their goals, whether it be a transformational moment where they're having this huge realization about their life and their existence, or if it's, pushing them towards what they want to accomplish, right? And so that's been my definition of a coach and really, teaching us new things, answering questions, making things clear, inspiring us, right? Like that's the kind of coach I like to be. But what about you, Savannah? What's your definition of a coach versus like what we were kind of sold?
Yeah, and just to add to that, because I completely agree, a therapist focuses more on the past. And I've been to a few therapists when I was young in my teens, and I never felt good. Maybe there was a release from talking about it, but I actually felt more angered because the trigger would be brought up and there would be no focus on the solution.
Hmm.
And so I think therapy is a lot like, the Western doctors, where they're so focused on just the surface level, or maybe therapists do go deeper, right, into the past, into childhood and all that. But it's like, now, what about prevention? Or what about like moving forward into, just like, I don't know why I keep thinking of therapists being like a bit of the um, indoctrination that we grew up with, right? With like trusting doctors, when really coaches, to me, I believe a definition of a coach is exactly what you said. It's every time I've seen a coach, I felt inspired, I felt motivated, I felt encouraged. I had like a clear steps of action. I had accountability. It was, and a coach is someone that pulls pulls out information from you by asking you the right questions. And so for to help you find that answer, because truly we only know the answer within us, because we have different childhoods, we have different beliefs, we have different thoughts. It's like only we truly know the answer of what we need to do. But sometimes we need someone to ask us those questions to get ourselves out of our own perspective, out of our own 3D thinking. And so a coach is really someone to help ask those hard questions, like, why are you stuck? Why are you having resistance? What? And the thing with this coaching that we paid for, something that really bothered me was on one of the coaching calls. And technically, this set of coaching that we paid for was for 3 to 6 months contract. And it was for 2 calls a week, right? For coaching, 2 hours, and then it got reduced to one without notice. And so that's another thing. A coach is there for their clients. They want to let them know of any changes. They want to let them know, hey, I need to, change the schedule. And like, it's a team effort. It's truly a team. So I think that also is like, a coach is somewhat above, right? Because they're helping guide you, but they're also on the same level. It's like the coach can't be a good coach without also a good client, right?
Hmm.
So this particular coach, we showed up to a call. We all took time out of our day, scheduled this call into our calendar, and we all have busy lives, right? And so when you show up to a call and within 10 minutes, this coach said, well, if no one has any questions, I don't want to waste your time. So it's some psychology, and she has a degree in psychology. So I felt like using this psychology by putting it on us, saying, if I don't want to waste your time, if you're not here to having questions, well, I'm not going to waste your time, and I'm going to go. And so she ended the call at around 10 minutes, and it was supposed to be a 1 to 2 hour call. And I was flabbergasted that, what did I just paid over $5,000 for coaching, putting time in my calendar, ready to learn. And you're not always going to know what your questions are. You're not always going to. So coaching to me is not just showing up answering questions for your clients. Coaching is asking your clients the questions as well. And so I just was mind blown that she didn't take the time to actually ask any of us questions. Why don't you guys have questions? Where are you guys stuck? What is going on in your head today? Is everyone having a good day? Like, I'm getting goosebumps right now because I'm still so shocked that coaching can be marketed as coaching. And so that's one thing to really watch out for, is to ask deeper questions. If you're going to invest in a coaching program, what is the format? Like, what does that look like? Like, really get detailed. You can use ChatGPT. What questions should I ask, right? And so, yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of my
Yeah.
my take on coaching.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the things that I was taught, amazingly, some of my coaches are therapists who have realized that traditional therapy just is not working, right? And so they found a new way to break through the spiritual barriers, I'll say, to people's evolution. And so they're kind of breaking that down, and they're trying to bring new therapy into Western medicine, because yes, focusing on our past, focusing on all of this stuff, it really is just ruminating and adding energy to something that somebody's trying to heal. So we know that talk therapy doesn't work. So I wanted to mention that, but also,
Mhm.
when I think of a coach, and the way that I was taught to be a coach was to show my clients where the how to access the best of them so that when they need it, they know how to find it, right? Because I'm all about helping individuals meet their goals and reach their goals, excuse me, but also making sure that they can move forward in a way that is aligned with them so that they can find them when they need them, right? Like the way that we were kind of sold into this process was that they're going to guide us through and make sure that we succeed and all of this, right? So I feel like we moved into this experience without either of those. They weren't showing anything about, like, I wasn't really taught anything new about myself other than to follow my gut feeling. But I also wasn't encouraged to break through my own barriers. It was just like, if you feel like showing up today, right? It was more like if you want to join in to this kind of useless conversation and maybe learn something, then you're free to, right? It was just more of a, I don't even want to say a relaxed feel because I'm okay with relaxed feel and us all just being genuine and authentic, but it was more of like a, I can't even really say it, but it wasn't coaching and it wasn't emotional support and it wasn't pushing us through our goals and it wasn't, transformational at all. It was just show up and be there until you're not needed and then leave was the feeling I got.
Exactly. And it felt so superficial. You'd show up to the call, you'd ask your 1 to 3 questions or what however many questions you had, but they were usually very specific, like what should my headline be on my landing page or and there wasn't a feeling of getting to the root, which is I believe the real resistance for most of us is our own belief if we can do it or not. And our own belief comes down to our childhood and our past experiences and if we failed before, right? And so to me, a true coach is like believing in you before you believe in yourself. And someone to see the magic in you and go, "Oh my God, girl, you've got it all." You've and so someone that's like asking the right questions, but also being your cheerleader just like a sports coach, like yelling at you, like push harder, let's go. So someone like showing up for you as as that I can't find another word, but like as a cheerleader as well. That's like, hey, you got it. It's just you're in your mind right now and showing that belief in you. And I didn't get anything like that at all. There was no showing me any belief or it was very, you had your question. Oh, this is how, change this wording on your headline. Okay, thank you. And it's like, at this point, we could have asked ChatGPT for that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's literally what that was. We paid that much and we could have had better coaching from ChatGPT. And so I think staying on like kind of staying on this coach topic is what people are really craving and needing is that human aspect of belief and encouragement and going deeper into that mindset of like, okay, why has it been 3 weeks that you haven't done a video? Like it's there's something, let's go into that. What's the real reason? And not staying in that past too much because it definitely comes from something from the past, but once once you know what it is, then you have more awareness. And so all of that encompasses coaching to me of like of having a bit of accountability too. We definitely need the self responsibility. We can't just say, "Oh, my coach didn't message me today, so I'm not going to do my action steps, right? We still need to
Mhm.
be accountable to ourselves, but how, like, if we're paying for coaching, to me, a part of that should be accountability, helping us with, just like a sports coach would do, is like, oh, you didn't do your laps, okay, 10 more.
Yeah.
Something like that,
Yeah,
right?
I agree. And I love so part of the therapy that I was talking about, I have a point to this. The therapists that are realizing that traditional therapy isn't very helpful is because they look at each person as being 100% whole and healed before they even encounter the person. And so when they're seeing somebody through that lens, that person is able to see themselves through that lens, right? And in martial arts, when we have someone walk on the mat as a white belt, we're automatically seeing them as a black belt and we're pulling them up to their best self, right? Their best version of themselves. And even when I do transformational coaching, I see the person's energy and their essence as a pure, divine light. And there is nothing wrong with anybody. There's nothing wrong with any of us, right? So we forget that. We think that there is, and we have all these thoughts over everything. But at the end of the day, they're really like we are all whole. We are all perfect and we are all bright and we are all shining. So I see that in every person. And when I'm having a conversation, I feel like I see them with that view of what they could be, even if they don't believe in themselves, right? And I'm like, borrow my confidence, borrow my belief. I want you to see yourself where I see you, right? And I think that it's an energetic thing, right? It's like like we know you're everything that you can't see, but we're going to help you get to that point of where you are allowing it, accepting it, and living it, right? And I feel like in this day and age, that's what a coach really is to bring out this best, remind everybody of how flawless we are by nature, right? It's our birthright. So I just wanted to add that because I don't know if we're redefining coaching. Um, but I just feel like that's what it is. When you have a coach, they believe in you. You know, they're not a Q and A person. They're not a telemarketer, you know. They're not just reminding you to eat breakfast. Like they're actually with you all the way. In whatever way they see you are going to benefit from. And that's going to be different for everybody, right? Because we all have our own energetic systems that we're always working with, if it's a thought or a belief or whatnot, right? We're always working through that.
Mhm.
But Savannah, I want to ask you because I feel like so much of this conversation is going to lead people to look within themselves as like taking responsibility. We did talk about that. Like we have to take responsibility for our choices, even if we didn't listen to ourselves. But what were some of the feelings that you had moving into this coaching agreement that maybe you did or didn't listen to? Was there any gut feelings or anything like that that came up for you?
There was a lot. And looking back, it's like, wow. And that's where I've really learned so much. Like small things right at the beginning. And, I kind of realized some of these in hindsight. When you really look back in hindsight, that's so clear. But when you're in the midst of it, you don't quite see it, but you kind of feel something, but you're not sure what that is yet, that gut feeling, but you're just trusting the process. The very first thing was the salesperson who sold me. The salesperson, and this is something that I really had an aha moment where a salesperson, when they're not using the program or when they haven't used the program, they have no idea truly the experience of it, but they're selling it. They want the money. That's all they want. That's why they're on the phone with you. They are truly trying to sell you something. They don't care if you succeed or not. They don't care if it's actually a good fit. And so that I'm getting goosebumps because that's been one of my biggest learnings, is that be very careful when you're being sold something. Is the person actually using what they're selling? Because if they're not, there's a good chance that what they're selling doesn't align with with what you're buying. Because how can it? They haven't experienced it. So how can they say it's the fastest software? How can they say that the coaching is going to help you? They don't know. They truly don't know. So that has been a huge learning lesson, is that the salesperson who sold me the program, didn't know any, has never used it. And so that's when I had an aha moment, go, wow, he really just sold me. And and then the second thing was paying for something before you actually get the contract. So that was another huge thing that I learned from. I actually sent a payment for the coaching before I even saw the contract. Like, you know, I can't believe I did that. So that's a red flag on the company as well, I think. And I know we might not be getting into red and green flags yet, but that's something that I learned. And another thing was about 3 months into it, when I started to feel really heavy about the program and my excitement, my honeymoon phase was going down fast because I was starting to realize these things. This isn't truly coaching. And why is this feeling so heavy and confusing when I paid extra to get it more clarity? And so about 3 months into it, I put my coaching on hold and I didn't trust myself. I was thinking it was my fault. And that was the moment I should have asked for the refund. And that was the moment I should have said, whoa, this isn't what I paid for. But because I was believing in past lies about what I was good at or what I could be successful with. And so because of past failures, I was believing, oh my God, it's me. It's truly me. I'm not techie or whatever. And so if I would have had more awareness, or if I would have taken a step back and really looked at things, or if I would have came across a podcast like this at that time, I would have been like, oh my God, this is it. I'm asking for a refund. And I would have saved myself another 6, 7 months of headaches, of confusion, of wanting to pull my hair out, literally, like maybe not that extreme of actually pulling my hair, but like figuratively that frustrated with the tech and everything. So that's been right off the top of my head. Those three things is when you're feeling that gut feeling, when you're starting to notice something's not right, instead of believing that lie about yourself, that maybe it's me, I literally put it on hold for 2 months because I thought, okay, I'm not getting it. I don't want to waste more of my money. So I'm going to put it on hold and let me try to figure out what's going on here. So,
Yeah, yeah. So
yeah.
so you did eventually kind of move into those feelings of something's not right, which is interesting because we want to. Well, first I'll say that Savannah, you were in this program a little longer than I was, so your experience was a little bit different. I too was sold by the same person. I too didn't notice that this person never had used the software. However, or even probably the coaching, but I did notice that they couldn't answer my questions and I thought that was strange, but I had already for some reason trusted them. And I think there's a good flexibility in trusting, right? It's like if it's a good company and their internet goes down or they don't get a message to you on time or you don't get a link to log in or someone's an hour late, like some of that stuff is normal, right? So
Mhm.
there's this probably a pretty thick line between flexibly trusting the process and like a red flag because I look back, I'm like, oh yeah, they were 4 hours late for the first meeting, and oh yeah, I didn't get the email for that one link that I was supposed to. So and then they took things out and that they had sold. So like there were all these red flags in hindsight. But when they sell you so good on a solution that you're like, I just really need something, or I need to learn something, or I know that there's an experience for me, um, you know, we just sometimes don't see those things right away.
Yes. And I think that's a great point to bring up because when we see these big marketing gurus, right? And what they've done really well, let's say millions in sales, and so their offers are so good because they've perfected this over time. And so the offer is so sexy and so irresistible that it almost gets lodged in your brain that is it. And then if it's not released yet, or if you haven't gotten that thing yet, and they keep saying it's coming, it's coming, it's coming soon, because that's actually what happened with this program. They would constantly say the features are coming, the updates are coming, the new training is coming, and it didn't come. But you kept trusting them, like, oh, because they're so good. They painted themselves so well, and and they make crazy claims like we've helped 40,000 people launch their business, and you just trust it. It's pretty wild that we just trust what we see online. And when you really dig deeper, it's not the case at all. And they're making these non-compliant claims. And so I think that's what we need to realize with marketing is that there's a fine line between um, being dishonest, like deceiving people, because marketing itself is to grab attention, is to hook you. And so you can't do that with bland, boring statements, right? Like that's the whole purpose of marketing is to get
Get
attention. So
attention.
there
Yeah.
really is a fine line between, okay, how do I get attention without being dishonest? And so um, I kind of got off a little off topic there, I think, but
No, that's okay. That's okay. Well, we're going to move into really just um, understanding the difference between maybe some green flags and red flags and like wholesomeness. Because you're right, Savannah, like when we're trying to market ourselves or we're teaching other people marketing, it really is, putting your message, putting your service and getting out there in the world, but also being seen. And in a place like the internet that's very convoluted and full of energy flying from every different direction, marketers do find themselves making bigger and bigger claims, right? And part of the red and green flags, hopefully we'll get through all that today, will be, you know, even as a person building their business, how can they make sure that they're moving forward in a wholesome and an authentic and genuine way without making these ridiculous claims? And honestly, I'll just tell you right now that testimonials and customer experiences always win me over marketing, right? Like I'll get an idea of like, oh, that sounds really good, and then I'll go check the person out. So yeah, let's just move into some green flags because we want you to feel the difference between the experiences of the two differentiating the contrast there. So, and for green flags, and this is a coach, a mentor, a product, a program, a service, a software, anybody that you're going to work with, green flags essentially you'll feel an alignment. I've made choices in my life where they don't feel like a good choice, but it felt aligned. And I talk a lot about alignment in the things that I teach. I've also like seen things that look amazing, but they didn't feel aligned, right? So I'm like, yeah, it looks great on paper, but there's just that alignment feeling isn't there. And for some reason unknown to my intellect, I just shift away from that. Um, but yeah, so Savannah, we're just going to go over and discuss the green flags. So we know that when they have like recent testimonials or interviews, photos and reviews that are posted and verifiable, real people who've experienced a product that they sell, and they've had positive things about it, and they're recent, right? I feel like the recent thing is a big thing because I've seen people swear by people that like had a 20-year-old review, and I'm just like, man, make sure they're recent because people change, they do different things. So yeah, what do you want to add to that as far as like what people actually
yeah,
experience, right?
yeah. Um, I would say a green flag too is if you're being sold by someone, like kind of what we were saying before, is has that person truly used what they're selling? And if they have, green flag. Because what what human would try something, not like it, and then sell it, right? So it's because if someone is selling something that they don't believe in, you're gonna feel it. More likely, you're gonna pick up on something. So I think it's a green flag if someone has used the product at least or has some experience with it, because then they're truly coming from their heart. They're truly coming from a place of they really believe this is going to help you. And so I think that is a huge one. And um, what's another one was
Oh, we know we can talk about this one. If they have a community where people can talk amongst each other about their struggles and their challenges and that they're okay with it, because I know you noticed that you were rather silenced in the community when you were asking for help, right? And that was a red flag.
yeah, exactly. I feel like some of our green flags and red flags might mix together because
Oh,
as you
yeah, yeah, yeah.
explained as you explain one green flag, it's kind of makes sense to explain the opposite. But that's a huge one because as we're noticing with the market shifting, more information, more people coming in online, that course selling a course doesn't cut it as much because people need that community. People need that connection, right? And so people are gonna notice more and more communities. So a green flag is actually having a community like, oh, that's awesome. That means I'm going to have extra support. I'm going to have a place to ask my questions, connect with other people. But a red flag is when you're not seeing wins in the community. There's not a lot of people winning or having success, or there is a lot of confusion. So if because the person we bought from, he was so good at making offers that he would repackage offers into a new offer. And so clients and customers would actually buy the same thing again
Hmm.
and not know that they had already purchased it because it sounded different. And so in the community, there were so many people, so much confusion. Didn't I buy that? What does that include what I bought? And that's a huge red flag is like the confusion and no success. So the opposite of that would be people having success in the community, people helping each other. And when I started to raise concerns and questions about the things I bought, or I actually put back in January, I put, hey, is who's struggling with the tech stuff? And I had 100 comments of people, oh my God, I would love a Zoom call. I would love a mastermind. Like, let's help each other out with the tech. So a green flag would be that you're able to do that. You're able to post in a community and get people, together. But then the red flag is actually being silenced. So where they didn't know, not one person from the team in over 6 months responded to that post of mine, even though all their customers and clients did, saying, yes, we need more help with tech. So red flag, no response, and then actually getting silenced. So them deleting me from the group, removing my posts, that was a huge one. So I think though right there for the community, that's big.
Well, and what both of us like, I thought at the beginning it was me too. I was like, this is just not the right product for me. Like, that's really where I came down to. Like, some people may find this successful, and maybe somebody did. We haven't talked to anybody that has. I know, but I really did think that I was probably the problem, and I just needed to go. But then at the same time, I was like, well, wait a minute, what did I even buy before I do that? Make that decision. I had posted in the community too. And I think that's what you responded to the question, right? Like, you weren't even a coach, but you responded to the question and nobody else really did. And then I was just like, oh dear. Um, but yeah, you're right. Then they were deleted, right? So you couldn't even really voice your opinions. They really didn't like it if we were looking for support from each other, even though we all had the same goal. Not to mention that they didn't want to step in and give us clarity for some reason in the community either. So yeah, we'll talk about another green flag. I know that you mentioned. You said that they'll let you try or buy, or they'll let you try it before you buy it, or at least come in and check it out to see if it aligns. Do you want to elaborate on that one?
Yeah, and I when I bought, there was no like 2 week trial or anything like that. And keep in mind, sometimes 2 weeks isn't long enough because life is so fast, right? We've got so much going on that maybe sometimes 2 weeks to really feel out a product and to really play with it, you might not even know if it's good. So it is a good green flag to if you can try it out. If it seems like the going rate is 2 weeks for most things, sometimes 30 days to try things out. So at the time when I did, there was no free trial. So
Me.
that is a good green flag if you do get that. Um, and then testing out the support and the asking questions and support. Because if they're not fast to get back to you, well, there's red flags. Because if it's being marketed as fast and simple, and then the responses are slow, the software's slow, like you'd be able to tell right away. So I think if you're going to try a free trial, do as much as you can with it to really test things out. Um, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. They at least let you check out the community and, get what you can out of it.
Mhm.
Because obviously there are some things that may not work for anybody, but they might be perfect for someone else and it might not be a negative experience, right? It's just not in alignment. So, um,
Mhm.
we also said that a green flag is someone that will be very transparent as to what they offer, how they offer it, and they're honest and open about their products and what they can help you achieve and accomplish. So interesting. This. It's interesting that this individual had the marketing down to a T, but when we were in the actual coaching and we're like, what are we accomplishing here? Like it was kind of like radio silence crickets, right? Like it just got quiet. Once they had your money, it was like giving you as little as possible to succeed and moving forward. There was no transparency there at all, right?
Yeah, and I think like a green flag for any program, course, or community is updated training. Like, how often are they giving you updated training? Because with us, especially for the coaching that we paid so much money for, is that it was actually outdated training. It still blows my mind that we were being taught outdated training. And it wasn't until this founder, the main person that we were sold on, it wasn't until he came out and said there's a new training coming. The old way no longer works. This new way is going to be the new way. And so we were all like, oh, wow, okay, a little bit disheartened because how long have we been doing this old, outdated training,
That we
right?
paid for.
Okay, yeah. And so it's like, okay, all right. So the trust is where I was hanging on by a thread at this point. I'm like, okay, I'm excited for the new training. And then the new training was never launched. It was canceled. It was canceled the day of. And then it just kept being pushed back and telling the community and customers it's coming, it's coming. It literally has been 3 months now and it still has not launched. So leaving your clients and customers in such limbo without any updates, without any forewarning of like why it's not being launched. Like there's just no transparency. Um, so I think that's a huge green flag is there updated training often because then that's really good. That's a good sign. If trainings are getting canceled, and that's a huge red flag because these people aren't organized. They're not truly caring about our well-being, right? Because if we're it's like a new highway that gets opened up that gets you to your destination faster. And you've got your coach keeping you on the old highway with more bumps and more twists and turns. And it's like you really start to lose your trust fast. And that's when you realize that you're in a bad relationship, right? That like, oh my God, what have I been doing? So yeah, I think being transparent, like let's say you do offer something and then it shifts midway, being transparent about why it shifted and how this new path is going to be better, and then actually fulfilling that new path. So it's one thing to talk about it like this person did. Oh, I've got the new way, but then never launches it. So again, a scam. It's actually selling something and then not delivering it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Or not, maybe not even having it. So that's
Not
interesting.
even
So
having it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it not even. And yeah, we'll get into the FTC and stuff at some point
Mhm.
because I don't even know if it's legal to sell something that doesn't exist, but we'll see. So green
Mhm.
flags, green flags when it comes to choosing a teacher, a coach, a mentor, or someone that you want to learn from is that they will generally not let you, they won't have a problem with allowing you to try or at least come in and check out what you do to see if it aligns. Also, if they have a community, they are 100% supportive of you communicating with people in the community, yeah, and communing and building relationships. They will also have recent testimonials, interviews, and photos and reviews posted that are verifiably real people who've experienced the product or program that they sell. Um, or their service. And they're very transparent as to what they offer, how they offer it, and they're honest and open about their products and what they can help you achieve and accomplish. Now, we know, Savannah, that it takes it takes them and it takes us to actually get something accomplished, right? Like we know this just from being in this area for so long, but without the clear communication, sometimes we don't even know what that is on our part, right? From a coach. So that's like this the dual self-responsibility we have there. But also yeah, there you'll just feel alignment. I think they'll be genuine, they'll feel good to you. Like it's a green flag. If it's a emphatic like absolutely yes, I want to learn from this person, and it's more of like, a heart or a gut feeling, then that's a good green flag. If it's like absolutely yes, this solves all my problems, and it's more like from the intellect or from the ego, then that might be like maybe look at that energy through some different viewpoints and tap into yourself just to make sure, right? So do you want to add any other green flags? I know we added some red, but we're going to more go into the red flags next. But does anything else come to your mind as to, whether something is wholesome or if it's like you're potentially going to get scammed?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because when you first come across something, because I think us humans were, again, depending on experience and all of that, but I'm definitely more of a trusting person. And so it felt aligned with me, like his messaging, everything felt aligned. And see, I just didn't have the experience that I have now. And from what I learned, I didn't know to go do certain research. I didn't know to look out for these certain red flags, right? And so, for example, like even with the testimonials, green flag being current testimonials, where you could even find them on social media and even message them and say, "Hey, I just want to ask, how did you like your this program?" Or right? And so when you're looking at it, when you're first coming across something, you're like, wow, this is pulling me in, right? Because I didn't know what to look for. And one huge thing I would say is the testimonials, because now what I've realized that this person is doing, and if he's doing it, then many other marketers have to be doing something similar because just like everything, there's good and bad people, right? So if it's happening with one person that's doing, there's got to be more. And what that is using what he did was a webinar showing the software, quickly showing how it works, and from the outside it looks amazing. Wow, it can create your content, it can create your lead magnet, it can create all of your course slides. And he's showing it, and there's people on the webinar commenting, "This looks awesome. Oh my God, I want to use this. Oh my God, this looks like it's going to save me so much time. This is great." And so he took a screenshot of that and he used that as his testimonials. So these are people not even using the product. They're just seeing it from the outside, just like I did. And they're going, wow, this looks amazing. And that's how they hook you. That's how they mislead you. It's because even the testimonials they're using are very old or they're not even real testimonials. So that would be the one of the first things that I look for now is the testimonials. Like, what are these people saying? Because just go right to the what's that saying? Get it from the horse's mouth or something. You just get right from the source. That could bypass so much stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with you that you could actually find them on social media and ask them questions because I think any testimonials we did have, we weren't even really able to find names. It's like, is this like it's a real person because they're on video, but we think that it's from an event from 10 years ago. And we have no idea how to even contact that person. And honestly, a good product or a good program or a good service or a good coach is going to say, join us with our community so we can all talk about the amazing things that we're learning together, because even as coaches, we're learning together. Even if you're an authority in a specific area, you're learning from your students, right? And we're kind of on that journey together instead of us wanting to or somebody wanting to be looked up as like a guru or they have all the answers and then, they just don't deliver. So yeah, I
Yeah, and actually, I'd like to add one more little piece is that about testimonials too is the coach in this program was posting testimonials saying, "Oh, our client so and so just launched and she made so much money, like dollar sign, dollar sign, dollar sign." And I actually went right to the source and I asked that woman, how did your launch go? Can I ask what your numbers were? Because we're both clients and we're both, it's an open space to talk about that. It's not like out of line. Hey, how much did you make? Um, so it was a more natural thing to ask her in that moment. Hey, what were your numbers? How many sales did you make? And she had launched with a very low ticket, like $11 product, and she had only made a few $100s. And so the way this coach was um, making it look like, oh, this person launched and made so much money. Again, that is such misleading marketing. So a big green flag to look out for is if there's proof. And I think we're going to need a little bit more of that. If we're making a claim, we have to show a little bit of the proof, I think, or else it's just so much talk. And so a red flag would be if this person's if people are constantly talking about how much money they made or how much they've helped people, where's the proof? So, for example, I've seen this with the same person, this person that we're the program that we invested in. Some of his ads. So he's teaching people to use testimonials as ads, and some of his testimonials, it's it's a quote, like a person says, "Oh my God, I saved so much money," and then it just says Mark, like no picture, nothing. It's like,
Mhm.
where's the proof? And so there's so much talk out there, and it's easy to see these shiny objects. And to me, when I see that now, I immediately think scam, or I immediately think not real, don't trust it. Because if you can't provide proof, if you can't provide like either a picture of the person or the person's first and last name, then like should you really be using the testimonial? If these are just some questions that I'm asking myself, but I think that's a huge thing to bring up is the proof side. Is that if they're able to show some proof right there, I think that's a green flag.
Yeah, and I like I love all that. The other thing that I was thinking too is when we see an ad on Facebook or something, I always read the comments now. And I'm noticing that like somebody that is not very trustworthy, their comments will ask questions. There's nobody answering the questions. You'll already have some buyers saying, "Hey, I couldn't get into my account." You'll just notice that things are very disorganized. And some of these amazing products that I see, like they have hundreds of positive comments of like, this person is amazing. And so I feel like it all starts really with that marketing message and be very aware that some marketers will pay people to go in there and comment on their ads so that they do look authentic and genuine and like they have a lot of positive influence and positive results. So it's really like you will begin to see the difference between the people that have a really good product because there's not any negative, they're engaging in the commenters, they're answering questions versus deleting comments, because I've seen that too. Instead of just answering a question, they'll just completely delete it and just be like, do here, come get this, it's red hot, it's the best deal you'll ever have, if you hate money, don't get this, things like that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great point. That's
Yeah.
something that we both witnessed recently, right? Because we've been watching this person's ads, and we're witnessing, yeah, we're for screenshot. I have like a document now of screenshots and just to back myself up, right? It's and for other people, like you know, just to show if I ever needed to show or wanted to show, I could block out everyone's name and make it confidential, right? But just to show really help because again, if I can't all be talk as well. If I'm talking about red flags, then I should also show some proof. So that's something that I'm really learning a lot right now is to document more of not only of my life for content, but to document for purposes like this. Because I think we chatted about this. I said, if I had been documenting things right after I paid and started documenting, oh, this call was canceled. Oh, this happened. Oh, then I would have saw the red flag sooner, actually. Right? If
Yeah.
we're documenting, we're like, oh, wait a second here. I've got 5 red flags over here and 1 green. Okay, wait, like I should
Yeah.
look into this more. So when we're not documenting, it's just like out of sight, out of mind, right?
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's, it's like they must be having it. Like we will start justifying until it's like, wait a minute. I remember when I kind of had enough, because, business owners we need to be respected by the people helping us too. So we're taking out time, we're being consistent, we're showing up, we're learning what we need to learn, we're doing our part. And, I remember when I had enough, it was like the third meeting that was canceled. And I was like, okay, this isn't right. I just need to get out of this situation. Um,
Yeah,
but I,
because we're human and we're going to forget. We forget things, right? Like we have so much going on that it's we will forget. Like how many times did they cancel? Like we probably don't even know because we weren't keeping track, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And I'll say too, Savannah, I know that I think we've talked about this before, maybe we haven't, but the energy of like marketing and business is so much about community now, right? Like bringing people together and learning from each other. And it's kind of cool because that's been in old school marketing forever, like social proof, showing other individuals like it was a positive and, helpful experience. And then individuals gaining trust off of other people's experiences. So I just want to give a tip out there for everybody is like, I think that's more true now than ever because when I beta tested a program, I didn't even really know how to explain what the program was. So I was like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to watch all the videos to figure out what I just taught everybody, and they loved it. So what I decided to do instead is I just said, let's do a case study, right? And so I just took everything that they said about the program, and I was able to put that into chat and just say write a sales letter based on their experience because I couldn't, I'm the experiencer from a different angle. So me coming up with all these claims didn't feel aligned with me. I wanted to be authentic in what the results were, and that's what I ended up doing. So I just want to say for everybody, if you're a business owner, getting um, the testimonials and the reviews from your clients will do you more marketing, I'll say, than you trying to come up with the words. Like better than a headline is somebody else's actual experience, right?
One thing that I've really learned as well with this whole experience is that you can, with some of these marketing gurus, it seems like there's a lot on the up front. So they sell you on you package your skills into a product or a course or a program, package your experience and, get paid to do what you love. Like it sounds amazing. And you get stuck in a product creation trap where you're like creating your product and the branding and the elements and you're getting so in the details before you even put it out. And so just to add on to what you just said is it's so important to just get it out even if it's messy, get people using it and getting that feedback because that's the only way you're actually going to know what direction or what it really is. And so I think that's a huge piece of what the marketing gurus are doing is they're selling you on this create your own product, which is good. However, you need to get it out as fast as possible because then you can reiterate and you can change as you go. Just like the iPhone has 16 versions, you have to start with version 1. And I think it's so important, just what you said, is get it out, even if you're not really sure the value that it's going to give to people, get that feedback. There's your case studies, there's your testimonials as well. And it's just going to build so much faster from there.
Yeah, and it'll evolve, and you'll save yourself a ton of time trying to perfect something that you can't think through, right? Like you can't think through what people are going to need until they experience and they'll show you, So it is that balance of staying in your creative alignment with what you want to bring forward, but also working in unison with everybody and saying, here's what we really need from this, and then shifting and pivoting and in a way that feels good to each of us. So yeah, I love that. One of my students said, I beta tested and like I think she realized that she was kind of trying to figure out something that couldn't be figured out until she beta tested. And she said, you just can't think this through. And I'm like, yeah, you can't. You cannot
Mhm.
think through that part of the creation phase as to how it's going to actually serve somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I noticed with this program is no one gets past the product creation phase. So that's that's a red flag, is that if you're not seeing people actually launching their thing, right? It's like, and that's where the belief comes in. So, because if you stay too much in the product creation, if you stay too long there, you actually start doubting, is this going to work? Is this, am I good enough to do this? Is this da 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 da, right? And then we don't even end up launching it because of our own beliefs. So I think if you've got a coach or if you've got a program or that helps you get your stuff out as soon as possible, right? Like I know Laura, you have, I know you have a TikTok challenge, right? And so that's helping you get yourself out faster. And I think that is so important. Those are such green flags. If someone's helping you, just get yourself out faster. Get the version one out. Do it messy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Please do it messy, please do, because we can't learn otherwise. And we really do bring up all those thoughts that get in our way, that hold us back. And sometimes they serve us from being scared and they protect us from stepping into the unknown. But like, we have to get out of our own way or we're just serving the ego, right? The ego is kind of deciding what we're doing with our days instead of breaking through all those barriers. And I 100% agree. I say, if you're scared, that's a good sign as to what you can do by following that fear. Following that fear will show you what your next step is because you'll be scared and then you'll get through it and then you won't be. And now you're in a different reality. Now you're in a different version of your power, really. So yeah, we're like this, the TikTok challenge. I love you mentioned that because it is so it does not let you get in your own way. Like it's so fast that if you follow the instructions, you have no choice but to create and post. And then you're gonna burn through so many different doubts and thoughts about because I did, I did that challenge because I went through that when I was posting. I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't good enough. Like all of the thoughts that come up, I was just like, I don't have time for any of this because I have another video coming tomorrow. So yeah, we really just need to get out of our own way, when it comes to serving.
Yeah, and be surrounded, like even, doing having this conversation with you and knowing that there might be future collaborations. Like I could feel a sense of unity with you, a synergy, and I want to meet the people in your group as well, in the community that you're starting. And when you're around the right people, it's you really do have faster success. And I think that is just a green flag in itself. Is like if you're making faster strides or gaining confidence, whatever it is, if there's like little things that you're noticing that's happening faster, stay around those people. Or if they push you, right? Like I kind of helped push you a little bit to like get that refund,
Yeah.
right? All right. And so because oftentimes we could just be in our head and like, oh well, whatever those thoughts were that you were having, right? Sometimes we just need that other person to go, no, 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 let's go for it. And then you're kind of more motivated.
Yeah.
And when you're not around the right people, it's like it's slow. You say something, you feel kind of stupid for what you said, or like you're questioning, am I crazy? Right? And it's just because they're not on the same level as you. And then you're taking it personal too. That's even worse. If you say
Yeah.
something, if you're telling them something and they're like, what? And then you take it personal, you're like, oh my God. It's just having being around the right people is life changing.
It
It's like
really is.
even having this with you, like being able to like vent in a way, but it's constructive venting because you're not going to let me also stay in the venting. You also remind me of like, but what did this bring for you? Right.
Mhm.
And it's so,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And yeah, Savannah, you did push me to the refund because I was also in that state of, I feel like when we move into that self-responsibility era, we just kind of, it's not that we just accept whatever happens. It's just like we just get tired of fighting. And for me, I was more like, I just don't want to deal with it. And I probably shouldn't have bought it in this first place because I felt like the ick to some extent in the first place. So I should have listened to myself. But I already learned so much. So I had all those things going through my mind. But yeah, it wasn't still what I bought. So I'm so glad that you said, just don't give up. Just go through the motions and stand your ground because it really did not, it was not what we paid for. Right. So I know we've talked about all the amazing things that have happened because we did that, but it's still not what we paid for. It's still not okay because we did meet each other and we're like, we know who we don't want to be and we know how to guide others to be better than like we don't want to teach people to do this stuff, which is also what they were encouraging us to do, right? Is to potentially violate some laws and some FTC um standards that were like, whoa, we need to not learn from this person anymore, right? So we'll go into red.
Mm.
Yeah.
Serious
So
stuff. Yeah.
what's that?
No, it's serious stuff. Like it's yeah.
Yeah, we'll do another episode as soon as we go over to the red flags. But we do want to add in that episode some of what we learned about the FTC and how they're making a crackdown on some marketers like this, and also, they're protecting consumers like us by figuring out what's okay and what's not okay. And it really is pretty serious when somebody's making all these claims and taking all this money from people, not fulfilling on their promises and just thinking that they're going to live high on the horse and not have to deal with the repercussions of that. So but with that, I'll give you more information on the second part of this episode here in a moment. But let's just talk about the red flags, which I know we mentioned some of them. One that you said was, they make you pay for the service before presenting the contract. I did look at the law to this, and it was pretty much like it doesn't matter. Just do, you can do whichever one. But I always felt like I wanted to show people what was in the contract before taking any kind of money, right? So that was definitely something we both noticed we did. We're like, pay before the contract popped up for review. So that was a red flag that we noticed after the fact. We're like, whoa, that's not okay. And that's not how we would do business. Right. And that's not how we do business. But we didn't see it as such a big deal at the time because we didn't know what else we were in store for. So,
Mm.
but
And
let's
the
see.
thing with the contract, the thing with the contract too, I agree. That's something that I would want my clients to see. So we're on the same page before any commitment, before any money is passed. It's like, don't wouldn't you want to be on the same page if there's any questions that arise, like you can just clear it all out before even making your client pay. Like I just think it's the right thing to do. It feels most ethical, right?
Yeah, making the agreements. Yeah, because who knows what agreements, we just made. And
Right.
yeah, there's
And like
no
coaching, right? Like that's another thing. It's like, um, yeah, so many of the red flags that we talked about before, like what is coaching? Well, when you get a contract, if you're paying for coaching, that's something too that you want to dig a little bit deeper into. Like, is it mentioned in the contract what coaching is, what kind of format it is, right?
Yeah, so questions we did not know to ask. But we went over most of the red flags, so I'll do like a recap of those. But the one that we haven't talked about is that the business as a whole does not use the methods that they're teaching. So so we decided that this is okay in like a foundational, like everybody starts somewhere, right? Like I know my first products and programs, like I can still sell them. I've added edits to them. I use some of the things that I taught and I implement, certain things. So there's like a growth thing that happens. But if they're not using any of the methods that they're teaching and they're just selling it, there's a disconnect there between the product and the coach, right? It's like things just don't add up. And if they look suspicious, they probably are.
Yes, that's another huge point because we talked about the salesperson not using the program or the product and they're just selling you, but also the coach and the tech person because we had two, right? We had a coach that would just do more of the content and the copywriting and then the tech person would be more focused on the technical side of the landing page or the funnel or the email automations. And when you think about it now, even looking back, the tech person does not use the software for his own doing. And the coach also does not use the software for her own clients. It's like, and the founder does not use the software for his own. It's like, oh my God. It is a little bit embarrassing when you look back, right? But you don't know these things because the marketing is so good. You actually don't know until you're in it. Just like anything, you don't know what the country is going to be like until you travel there, right? So you can
Yeah.
see all these beautiful pictures and stuff, but you really don't know it until you go, until you try it. So it definitely does come from trial and error sometimes, right? But hopefully if someone's watching this conversation and they can look out for some of these things right off the bat and go, let me do a bit of research. Like, are these people even using the things? And that really just dawned on me right now that also the coach and the tech person also and the owner, the founder, right? It's huge.
Like they're selling
Yeah.
it, but nobody's using it. And then they're trying to teach you how to use it, but in a very disconnected way of just, I'm here to
Well,
answer questions. So
very
it's,
disconnected. I think that's a really important word too. And just like one last thing, because the founder did talk about launching a new product. And I did notice that new product that had to do with ads, that he was using the same format for his ads. So technically, he was using a piece, but he never launched that training. So again, totally disconnected. So the one thing that he is using, he's not training his clients or customers on.
yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, it's
so
strange.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I really do feel like this comes back down to like, open, honest, authentic, because we said we would have been okay. Like, are you having a family emergency? Are you out of town? Is there something going on? Like, we're compassionate and we were giving, this company the benefit of the doubt over and over and over again. And we're like, hey, if you could just say you're overworked and you're exhausted, like, let's take a week. Let's take 2 weeks. Let's just give you a month so that you can get your head in the game and make sure that everything's running smoothly for everybody that's here trying to learn. But we weren't given any of that stuff. And I remember having a conversation because they were kind of trying to save me on the way out. And I said, look, we're compassionate human beings here. Like, we don't need things to be specifically a certain way, but these are the things that I noticed, the appointments being moved, no notice that we're getting, no meetings, the things that we paid for aren't being delivered. And I said, if it's a family emergency, just let us know what's going on and we're all going to be okay, right? And so then what I
Yes.
I think that we both noticed was like claims of family emergencies and stuff happening in the community, but then he would say something else to somebody else, right? So it was almost like they used that as another kind of like cop out just because we were like, we'll understand, but then he was saying he was like doing, I don't remember exactly what that do you
Well,
remember that?
that's actually, that was, I do. That was a very frustrating moment because here I am hanging on by a thread, waiting for this new training finally. Um, and he wasn't updating the group because he canceled the training and then he wasn't updating the group as to what was happening. And then he commented on someone's post saying he had a family emergency. So it wasn't a post to let everybody know. It was like hidden within comments of comments. And then when he finally did do an update, he did an update about his new offer, so another offer that was repackaged, and it had nothing to do with all of his customers and clients waiting for the new training that was supposed to come out. And he literally admitted that he spent the last 2 weeks, head in the sand or whatever he said, basically working on this new offer. So he kind of got caught in the lie because he said he had a family emergency. Then he literally said he's been spending the last 2 weeks working on this new offer that has nothing to do with his clients. It's actually to get him more money, nothing to train us on. And on the bottom of that update was a PS about the ads training coming out and that it was just coming out soon. And that was basically the whole update. So yeah, those are red flags right there. Just catching people in little lies, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you get a feeling for it. And then I know you said like feeling confused, right? That was another red flag that we were both kind of confused. And I think we know that whenever we're confused, there's probably manipulation going on, right?
yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
because when you think about it, a good coach or even will help get you clarity really fast. And if the coach can't give you clarity, and the coach literally could not, she said, I have to put everything on hold. I don't even know the new training. So we're going to wait for him to launch it. She literally could not coach us anymore because she wasn't even updated with the new training. So,
Yeah, it was unfortunate, but we've both learned from it. So
yeah.
just to recap this conversation before we finalize it, Savannah and I just recommend that you really understand what your definition of your coach, what you want your coach to be, because I think in a way we're all looking for different things. So it's really important to understand what your expectations are and what you're told, and to do your diligence and look into the feelings that you have about an individual and also just look at the analytical information based proof out there too, right? What are they articulating that they're selling you? Um, and also to look out for some green flags. So we'll go over these briefly. Green flag, they'll let you try before you buy, or at least check it out. They'll have an open community to support the tribe. They'll have recent testimonials by verifiable people that actually experienced the product. They're also very transparent as to what they offer. And testimonial videos, I feel like I wanted to highlight that because written testimonials can be faked, right? So we know that it's against the law to do that. It doesn't help that some people still do it. So I love video testimonials. And then some of the red flags, they make you pay for the service before presenting the contract. They don't let you try it before you buy it. Or if it's just like not even an option, that could be a red flag. Sales calls aren't recorded. There's no offer of recorded correspondence from the sales team or coach, especially when the salesperson is different from the coach and they don't even use the product. Also, testimonials that look like comments are a red flag, potentially, if testimonials are older than 1 year, because, we love to use our best testimonials, but, we got to keep everything updated to be honest, right? Also, the coaches or team does not use what they're selling. The business as a whole does not use that in any of the methods. And the other thing is multiple overlapping offers. And when you're not sure if you're buying something that you already have, I notice so many marketers doing this, and it's probably that new stream of income that they were taught to do, right? Like repackage it, put this on there and put this headline and change this and just duplicate it and you'll resell it. And I guess that's okay if you have like another market that you're trying to get, but when the same people are like, "Oh, they've added something," and they make you believe that you're getting something new, right? It's all about that honesty thing. So, and then yeah,
Yeah, because it's very normal. Sorry, just to add one thing, because it is very normal to seasonal, like seasons come around and you package it as a holiday
Mhm.
offer, right? Or it is very normal in the marketing world to repackage things. But I think what really is the key difference is if you're repackaging it to your same customers, that's that's not right because that literally is what they already bought. So it's okay if you're repackaging it and it's a new set of audience. Just like you said, it's a new target audience or whatever, then that's okay, right? Because it's when you're marketing into the same audience and I know this person knows what he's doing and it's wild to see how many people are rebuying the same thing.
Yes, and they're
Yeah.
voicing it and they're confused and they're trying to find answers because we have looked on the internet and there are people that have a lot of the same complaints that are like, what did I just buy? Because they were sold something, but then they open the package and it's just either what they already have or they don't understand it because it's not what the marketing materials led to. So, the other thing, and that's that confusion, if you're confused, then there's most likely some dishonesty there, some untruth. So I was confused and I was just like, whatever, I'm done. Like, this is frustrating for me. And you were confused, and I know you took it like there was something wrong with you because you couldn't understand, but it wasn't. We know now, like, it had nothing to do with any of that. It was the what you were sold, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And also, maybe should have mentioned this at the beginning, but just to be just like to not be shy about asking a lot of questions, right? Because if you see an offer, and for example, the offer that I saw was, complete marketing content system. It creates everything for you in a snap, like so fast, simple, easy, no tech experience required. Um, and then I also upgraded to this white label version where I could brand it with my own branding. That's what white label is. And so that was marketed and sold to me. I could put my branding on it and then have my clients give my clients access. They can log in whenever they want. And then the third thing was the coaching for me, which was, okay, how do I properly use this software? And I just want some extra coaching and support to just set up my whole business from A to Z. And literally anything that you see now on paper, what I'm doing is I'll have so many questions. So I'll put that offer into ChatGPT and I'll say, okay, come up with as many questions. I could probably be more specific than this, but come up with as many questions that I could ask the coach or the person selling this so I can really get more information, because what you see is not always what you get, right? From what we're learning. And so if I would have done that at the beginning, right, then I also would have saved myself so much time, because if I would have asked, is this truly white label? Maybe they would have lied to me like they have been doing, because that's one thing I paid for and I never got, right? So I just wanted to mention that fact, is because I had the thought someone might be thinking, okay, what did they even buy, right? We didn't really go into that, which just wanted to kind of clear the air. That's what I was sold on. That's what I was really excited about. And just to give a few examples um, of, as for example, the white label, right? Here's the thing too, is they can lie up front. Because even now, Laura, even now when I told them, hey, I'm not getting the white label, I want a refund, like no comment, no response. They never responded to me. They deleted me. So that's where you really have to kind of put on your researcher hat and just dig deeper and not be so trusting, unfortunately. Um, and if they can get on to someone on a call with someone like us, for example, and then if you can ask all those questions and then if we can answer transparent, then right away both people are gonna be so much farther ahead
Yeah.
with, with alignment.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I had someone, I don't know if I told you this story, but I had a friend reach out and said, "Hey, someone offered to take a percentage of my company in exchange for a $40,000 coaching package. Do you think it's a good idea?" And I said, "Well, my BS meter is really sensitive, first of all, because I was a private investigator in my past, but I was like, well, have you looked this person up? Have you looked into them?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, they're all over the internet. They're a big thing." And I did my own diligence about looking for this individual, looking for positive feedback, looking for all the things that they claimed to be. And I found very little evidence of that. So I didn't want to you know, sway the decision. I was just shining light on there's a gap here, right? And you get to decide what that gap means, and if that's something that you want to challenge and figure out what it means, that's up to you. But personally, like I don't do gaps. Like it needs to be 100% like this is feeling good to me, right? Like this is feeling aligned. Or I just won't bother, like we only have so much time and so much energy and so much um, you know, creativity and honestly, we don't like serving people is priority. Learning how to get our stuff to people is priority too, but we only have so much time to accomplish both, right? So let's not waste any more time. We're just like, let's hit the ground running, um, and do what we can with what we have.
Yeah, and just to add to that too, because especially you and I, connecting also energetically, and I love what you're doing with your business, where you're bringing awareness more to us as spiritual entrepreneurs, like spiritual creators, like, and we have to still be balanced with like the logic and sometimes that's what maybe got me with this whole thing is the trusting too much and not looking for those facts and not looking for the more logic, right? And I think that's something I think we're both taking away is the proof side. Like going, I know you've got it with your background, like with the experience that you have with private investigating, but going deeper into like, okay, let me see, let me get the proof now. Because I
Mhm.
feel aligned with it spiritually, but don't stop there. Like let's actually get the proof side of it now, right?
Yeah, yeah. Let's hear other experiences and let's look deeper. Yeah, absolutely. Um, because we do want to help our intellect understand that we've done the diligence too, so it feels good, looks good. Yeah, doing that work. Because it is very important for us to stand up for ourselves and to cheer ourselves on. And, that means doing the diligence on our part just to make sure that we're hiring the people that have our best interest in mind. At the end of the day, like we don't want to waste any money either, right? Like we don't want to waste time. We don't want to waste money. Like nobody does. I don't care how good you market something. If it's, anybody, if it's not a good product and it's not really going to help people and it's not going to serve people, then man, like you're going to have to create a new business because it's not going to last. It's not going to be sustainable for anybody.
It
Yeah,
won't.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you, Savannah. So in our next episode, the second part of this episode, Savannah and I are going to talk about how to know if you're in a situation like this because we realized at different times and at, different awarenesses. So we're going to talk about how to know if you're actually in a situation like this. Are you entering into a situation like this? Are you well, and also if you are, what do you do about it? Like how do you get out of this situation? What are our tips? So we're going to share those and we're going to share some other tools so that you can actually use what is at hand to benefit you and support you. And it'll also help you if you are looking for a coach, if you are considering hiring someone and you have some questions that are pressing, it'll help you kind of make that decision just by us sharing our experience and our thoughts. So, do you want to add anything else, Savannah?
Yeah, I'm excited for the second episode because the tips and tricks that we got from this whole experience are going to help so much. And I know everything so far will will help as well, like knowing the green flags and the red flags to watch out for. But going more into the tips and more in the tools like ChatGPT, how we use ChatGPT in these scenarios. Also, maybe talking a little bit about the FTC and some of real life marketing that's happening in the world right now and why it's important to take this more seriously while you're either starting out or even if you're more experienced. Um, yeah, I'm excited to do a second one, and I think just by doing this conversation, it's also healing for me. So I want to say thank you. And to anyone who watches this, if you're feeling alone, I was really lucky to have Laura and a few other women in the group who were experiencing the same thing. So lucky because it's been helping me get through it. Because $10,000 is not a small investment, and especially a year of my time, almost a year of my time. And so, if anyone, I want to say, anyone who watches this, or if you know anyone who's might be experiencing the same thing or is wanting to invest in a program, they can they can reach out to us because if they're feeling alone, if they're lacking a community, please reach out to us and we're happy to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Savannah, how do people get a hold of you?
They can go to digitalstartupgrowth.com. That is my landing page, but if they put in their email address, they'll go through my email sequence and they'll get my contact there, so they can send me an email that way. That's probably the best way for now. Or they can find me on social media, Savannah Peck. They can reach out to me there too. I'm not as good with messages on social media right now. I'm actually looking into getting like some assistance there. But yeah, I would say email would be the best. Just do
Okay.
it. Digitalstartupgrowth.com.
Okay. And likewise, my website is www.lauraperry.com, and there's a contact page there if you'd like to talk more about this. We really do want to help people get connected with the right people and help them get out of situations that are maybe not so positive. So yeah, and another thing I'll request as we finalize is if you know of any red or green flags, please put them in the comments of this podcast because it'll help us offer more feedback moving forward. And also, I'm sure that other people have experienced things, red flags, green flags that were luckily maybe we didn't, right? So that
Mm,
could help people.
really good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to add to go check out Laura's TikTok because she's inspiring me to start a TikTok channel. And she's got some great videos on there. So I highly recommend checking that out.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
And
you're
Savannah, you
welcome.
have one too. I'm following your videos.
It's an old one. I think I'm going to start a new one with your challenge.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Savannah. And thank you everybody for listening. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.